3.2. The physiographic divisions of Ethiopia. What are the major physiographic divisions of Ethiopia? Can you explain the formation of Ethiopian Rift Valley? What biophysical characteristics can you mention about areas under rift in Ethiopia? Following the structural divisions brought about by the geologic processes of the Cenozoic era, three major physiographic units can be identified in Ethiopia. These are 1. The Western Highlands and Lowlands. 2. The Southeastern, Eastern Highlands and Lowlands. 3. The Rift Valley. 3.2.1. The Western Highlands and Lowlands. This physiographic unit includes all the area west of the Rift Valley. It extends from north to south, encompassing nearly the whole western half of Ethiopia. It makes up about 44% of the area of the country. East and western segment of the Rift Valley bound it, whereas westward, the land gradually descends in altitude until it merges into the western foothills and lowlands, along the Sudan and South Sudan border. This region is further subdivided into four groups of highlands, 76.3%, and four groups of lowlands, 23.7%, see Figure 3.1. The Western Highlands A. The Tigray Plateau extends from the Tekes Gorge in the south to central Eritrean highlands. The Tigray Plateau is separated from the Eritrean Plateau by the Merab River. It lies to the southeast of the upper course of the Merab-Gash River and to the northeast of Tekes River Gorge. It constitutes about 13% of the area of the region. It is an elongated highland with most of the land being in between 1,000 and 2,000 meters above sea level. The right bank tributaries of Tekes drain this plateau. Long period of denudation has created residual features of granite hills, rugged topography, and ambus. There are mountains in plateau with elevations of over 3,000 meters, namely Mount Sabet 3,988 meters. A.S. L. Mount Ambalaj 3,291 meters. A.S. L. and Mount Asimba 3,248 meters. A.S. L. The famous monastery at Debre Damo, a tableland that can only be climbed by a rope pulley, is also located in this plateau region. Figure 3.1. Ethiopian Topography Source. CSA Shapefile, 2012. B. North Central Massifs. This physiographic division is the largest in the Western Highlands. Much of its northern and southern limit follows the Abay and Tekes gorges. The Abay, Tekes and their tributaries have cut into this region a maze of gorges, steep-sided river valleys, dividing the land into many isolated plateau blocks, precipitous tablelands and other rugged surface forms. But much of these plateau and tablelands are still capped by the Tropine lava. In its central part, the physiographic unit also accommodates the Lake Tana basin surrounded by plains of Fougara and Dembia in the north and an upland plain in its south. 58% of the region is at an altitude of more than 2,000 meters, making it, next to the Shiwan Plateau, the second highest physiographic division. The region consists of the Gondar, Wello and Goijam massifs. Out of the 26 mountain peaks with altitude of more than 4,000 meters, A.S. L in Ethiopia, 19 mountain peaks are found in this physiographic region. Among these, the most popular ones include Mount Rosdashan, 4,620 meters. A.S. L. Mount Wenabar, Ankwa, 4,462 meters. A.S. L. Mount Kittasherd, 4,453 meters. A.S. L. and Mount Bwahit, 4,437 meters. A.S. L. in the Simon Mountain System. Mount Guna, 4,231 meters. A.S. L. in the Debre Tabor Mountain System. Abuna Yosef, 4,260 meters. A.S. L in the Lasta Highlands of Wello and Mount Buran, 4,154 meters. A. S. L in the Choke Mountain System in Goyjam are also part of Simon Mountain System. These mountains have steep cliffs and rugged terrain that provide scenic views to climbers. The mountain systems in Gondar and Goyjam are separated from the eastern group of mountains in Wello by impenetrable and deep gorges. At one point though, they are connected by Yaju Wadla Delanta land bridge. This land bridge has been significant in history. It served as a route of penetration by the Turks, Portuguese, and Italians etc. The Wareta de Bray Tabor Woldia road constructed to link the northwestern region with Aseb through Woldia and Desi took advantage of this land bridge. Circa. The Shewa Plateau, Central Highlands. The Shewan Plateau is bounded by the Rift Valley in the east and southeast, by the Abay Gorge in its northern and western limit, and the Omo Gorge in the south and west. This plateau occupies a central geographical position in Ethiopia. With only 11% of the area of the whole physiographic region, the Shewa Plateau is the smallest of the Western Highlands. 3/4 of its area is at an altitude of more than 2,000 meters above sea level. It has, therefore, the largest proportion of elevated ground. The Shewa Plateau is drained, outward in all directions by the tributaries of Abay, Omo, and Awash. It, therefore, forms a water divide for these three river basins. The tributaries of Abay Gudar, Mugar, Gemma etc. have cut deep gorges and steep-sided river valleys. They have created several tablelands and isolated plateau units in the north. Similarly, the tributaries of Omo and Awash have dissected the other sides of the plateau. Otherwise, this plateau has relatively extensive flat-topped uplands, giving it the appearance of a true plateau. The highest mountain in the Shewan Plateau is Mount Abay Meda, 4,000 meters. A. S. L in northern Shewa. Mount Gurig in the south is 3,721 meters high. D. The southwestern highlands. This physiographic subdivision consists of the highlands of Welega, Ilyababara, Jimma, Kaffa, Gamo and Gofa. This region is separated from the adjacent highlands by the Abay and Omo river valleys. It extends from the Abay Gorge in the north to the Kenya border and Chubahir in the south. It accounts for 22.7% of the area of the region. The region is the second largest in the Western Highlands. About 70% of its area lies within 1,000–2,000 meters altitude. The southwestern plateau is the wettest in Ethiopia. It is drained by Dabas, Dedasa tributaries of Abay, Baro, Akobo and the Gebe, Omo rivers. The numerous streams have cut these highlands to produce the most dissected and rugged terrain that accommodates the most numerous and diverse ethnic linguistic groups in Ethiopia. With a height of 4,200 meters above sea level, Guj Mountain is the highest peak in this physiographic subdivision. The Western Lowlands. These are the western foothills and border plains that extend from western Tigray in the north to southern Gamo Gofa in the south. In certain places, ridges or part of the highlands protrude into the lowlands, interrupting their continuity. They make 11% of the area of the physiographic region. The general elevation ranges between 500 and 1,000 meters above sea level. This physiographic sub-region is further subdivided into four by the protruding ridges. These are Tekes Lowland, Abay Dinder Lowland, Baro Lowland, and Gebe Lowland from north to south. With the exception of the Baro Lowland, the region is generally characterized by arid or semi-arid conditions. Pastoral or semi-pastoral economic activities dominate the area. As it moves northwards, the degree of aridity increases, making rain-fed agriculture more difficult. Since one or two rivers cross all of these lowlands, irrigation agriculture is highly feasible. For example, the Baro lowland has an extensive flat area suitable for mechanized agriculture. The Gebe Omo lowland, which includes the lower Gebe, Omo Valley and the northern section of the Turkana Basin, is classified in the western lowlands from its geographical location. But structurally it also belongs to the Rift Valley. It is an area, which is both faulted and tectonically depressed. In the western lowlands, there are small but important towns. Their importance could be related to agriculture, history, or are simply border towns and frontier ports. These are Humera, Meetma, Omedla, Kermik, Gambela etc. 3.2.2. The Southeastern Highlands and Lowlands. This physiographic region is the second largest in terms of area. It accounts for 37% of the area of Ethiopia. The highlands make up 46% of the physiographic division while the rest is lowland. In the west and north, the eastern escarpment of the Rift Valley makes the western and northern limit. In many places the land raises so abruptly that from the edge of the plateau one literally looks down the Rift Valley. From here, the land gradually descends southeastward into the southeastern lowlands and then to the plains of Somalia. These are further subdivided into 2 units of highlands and 2 units of extensive lowlands. These are briefly discussed as follows. The southeastern highlands are the Arsi-Bale-Sidama Highlands. These highlands are found to the east of the Lakes region. They are located in the southwestern section of the physiographic region. They make up 28.5% of the area of the region and 62% of the southeastern highlands. The Arsi Highlands are made up of flat rolling uplands and dissected mountains. The mountains in this area are Mount Kaka, 4,180 meters. A.S. L. Mount Bada, 4,139 meters. A.S. L. and Mount Shalalo, 4,036 meters. A.S. L. The Bale Highlands are separated from the Arsi Highlands by the head and main stream of Wabashabel. They consist of a platform-looking basaltic plateau in the north-central part and high mountain massif to the south. The Afro-Alpine summit of Sineti Plateau is found on the latter group. The highest mountain peaks in this region are Tulu Demtu, 4,377 meters. A.S. L. and Mount Batu, 4,307 meters. A.S. L. Erosion features belonging to Pleistocene glaciation but later modified by fluvial processes are seen in the trough-like gorges, hanging valleys, and depressions. The Arsi-Bale Highlands are important grains-producing areas with still high potential. The Sidama Highlands are separated from the Bale Highlands by the Gainal River Valley. They occupy the southwestern corner of this region. The prominent feature here is the Jemjem Plateau, an important coffee-growing area. Rivers Wabashabel and Gainal along with their tributaries have dissected this physiographic region. Especially, Wabe River, tributary of Gainal, has cut an underground passage, Saf Omar Cave, through the Mesozoic limestone rocks. The cave is found near Bale Mountains. It is one of the world's most spectacular and extensive underground caverns, creating a magnificent view accessible only by an underground stream. B. The Herard Plateau. This plateau is a northeasterly extension of the southeastern highlands. It extends from the Cherche Highlands in the southwest to Jigjiga in the east. It makes up 38% of the southeastern highlands and 17.4% of the whole physiographic region. It has the smallest proportion of upper highland, greater than 2,000 meters. It is a low-lying and elongated region. Rising sharply from the Rift Valley floor, it immediately but gently descends east and southeastward. The left bank tributaries of Wabashabel drain it. Much of the Trapene lava is removed and the Mesozoic rocks are extensively exposed. The highest mountain here is Mount Gara Maleta, 3,381 meters. A.S. L. The Southeastern Lowlands. Southeastern lowlands are located in the southeastern part of the country and they are the most extensive lowlands in Ethiopia. They make up 54% of the area of the physiographic region and around one-fifth of the country. This region is divided into Wabashabel Plain, 60%, and the Gainal Plain, 40%. They include the plains of Ogaden, Elker, and Barena. Southeastward sloping plains characterize these lowlands. These extensive plains are interrupted here and there by low hills, low ridges, inselbergs, and by shallow and broad river valleys and depressions. Because of the harsh climatic conditions, these lowlands are little used and support very small population. They are sparsely inhabited by pastoral and semi-pastoral communities. The economic potential for this region includes animal husbandry, irrigation, agriculture, and perhaps exploitation of petroleum and natural gas. 3.2.3. The Rift Valley. The Rift Valley is a tectonically formed structural depression. It is bounded by two major and more or less parallel escarpments. The formation of the Rift Valley has separated the Ethiopian highlands and lowlands into two. It extends from the Afar Triangle in the north to Chubahir for about 1,700 square kilometers. It covers 18% of the area of Ethiopia. It is elongated and funnel-shaped, with an ASW orientation. It opens out in the Afar Triangle, where it is the widest, and narrows down to the south. The floor of the Rift Valley is made up of interconnected troughs, grabens, and depressions. Volcanic rocks, fluvial and lacustrine deposits cover the floor. In many places, numerous volcanic domes, hills, and cinder cones rise from the floor. Altitude in the floor ranges from 125 meters below sea level at Dalol Depression, to as high as 2,000 meters above sea level in the lakes region. The bounding escarpments are also of varying heights. From the floor to the edge of the escarpment, the heights vary from 200 to 1,500 meters. Because of its altitudinal variation and positional differences, the climate also varies from warm, hot and dry to cool and moderately moist conditions. Similarly, the social and economic life reflects this pattern. There are places, which are desolate and sparsely inhabited by pastoralists, whereas in other parts people practice some rain-fed agriculture. The Rift Valley is further subdivided into three physiographic subregions. These are the Afar Triangle, the main Ethiopian Rift, and the Chubahir Rift. A brief description of each subdivision is given below. I. The Afar Triangle. The Afar Triangle is the largest and widest part of the Rift Valley. It makes up 54% of the Rift Valley area. It is bounded by the high western and eastern escarpments in the west and east respectively, and by the Afar and Aisha Horst in the northeast. The area is generally of low altitude, 300–700 meters. Quite different is the morphology of the Afar Depression, triangular-shaped lowland, where elevation drops uniformly from approximately 1,000 meters in the southwest to below sea level in the north, Danakil Depression, and in the east, where the shores of Lake Assal, fluctuating at around 125 meters below sea level, represent the lowest subaerial point of the African continent. The depression, which hosts one of the most hostile environments on Earth, maximum temperatures can exceed 50 degrees Celsius during the summer wet season, Dalol, at the northern tip of Afar. The area is characterized by faulted depressions, grabens, volcanic hills, active volcanoes, volcanic ridges, lava fields, and low lava platforms. Lakes Abe, Asale, and Afrera occupy some of these basins. A prominent feature in this region is the Danakil Depression, Kobar Sink. Separated from the Red Sea by a 200 meters high land barrier, much of it lies below sea level. A larger part of this is covered by thick and extensive salt plain. Lake Asale and Lake Afrera occupy the lowest parts of this sunken depression. The Afar Triangle is generally hot and dry. The only respite one gets in the southern part is from the waters of the Awash River. The economic importance of this region includes salt extraction, irrigation along the Awash River, and electric potential from geothermal energy. The main Ethiopian Rift, Central Rift. refers to the narrow belt of the Rift Valley that extends from Awash River in the north to Lake Chamo in the south. It is bounded by the western and eastern escarpments. With the exception of the Arbaminch area, the bounding escarpments are generally low. This part of the Rift Valley is the narrowest and the highest. It has an average width of 50 to 80 kilometers and general elevation of 1,000–2,000 meters above sea level. The floor in many places is dotted by cinder cones and volcanic mountains. The big ones include Mount Fentale, Boseti Guda near Adama, Alatu, north of Lake Zaway, and Chibi north of Lake Hawassa. The northern section has more of these cinder cones and lava fields. The prominent features, however, are the numerous lakes formed on tectonic sags and fault depressions. Because of altitude, the lakes region of the main Ethiopian rift is generally milder and watery. Here rain-fed agriculture is practiced. Other resource bases include the recreational value of the lakes, the agricultural importance of some streams and lakes, and the geothermal energy potential. The Chu-Bahir Rift. This is the smallest and the southernmost part of the Rift Valley. Nisak highlands of Konso and the surrounding highlands separate it from the main Ethiopian rift to the north. The characteristic feature of this region is the broad and shallow depression, which is a marshy area covered by tall grass, into which the Sigan and Woito streams empty. 3.3. The impacts of relief on biophysical and socio-economic conditions. The highly dissected character of the landscape over much of the country's territory along with the limited extent to which flat surfaces are present influence the various socio-economic aspects of Ethiopia as presented hereunder. 1. Agricultural practices. Relief influences farm size and shape in that in an area of rugged terrain the farmlands are small in size and fragmented and tend to be irregular in shape. Choice of farming techniques and farm implements are highly influenced by relief, as in rugged terrain mechanized farming techniques are difficult to practice. Relief influences crop production as some corn are well adapted to higher altitudes, barley, wheat, and others to low altitude, sorghum, maize. The practice of animal husbandry is also influenced by relief, as most equines and sheep are reared in the higher altitudes and camels and goat are well adapted to lower altitudes. 2. Settlement pattern. Highlands of Ethiopia that experience a temperate type of climatic condition that are mainly free from most of the tropical diseases are densely settled. Rugged and difficult terrain hinders the development of settlement and its expansion. The highlands of Ethiopia are characterized by sedentary life and permanent settlements, while lowlands that are inhabited by pastoralists have temporary settlements. 3. Transportation and communication. The highly dissected nature of the landscape is a barrier to the development of internal surface transportation that resulted in the long-term isolation of many communities. The difficult terrain makes infrastructure development and maintenance costly. TV and radio communications are also highly influenced by relief. Rugged topography rendered rivers less navigable due to the waterfalls, deep gorges and steep cliffs. 4. Hydroelectric power potential. The great difference in altitude coupled with high rainfall created suitable conditions for a very high potential for the production of hydroelectric power in Ethiopia. 5. Socio-cultural feeling. The rugged terrain as a result of excessive surface dissection resulted in the long-term isolation of communities that led to the occurrence of cultural diversity. People who live in the highlands have been identifying themselves as Degegnas, mountaineers, and those who live in the lowlands as Kalegnas, lowlanders. 6. Impacts on climate. Climate of Ethiopia as a result of the tropical position of the country and the great altitudinal variation of the general topography. Highlands with higher amount of rainfall and lower rate of evapotranspiration tend to be moisture surplus compared to the moisture deficit lowlands. 7. Impacts on soil. Steep mountain slopes provide low angle of rest, unstable surface materials and subject to degradation processes and relatively form shallow and little developed soils. 8. Impacts on natural vegetation. Relief through its effect on climate and hydrology affect the type of natural vegetation grown in an area. Review questions. Answer the following questions briefly. 1. 2. Discuss the physiographic characteristics of the southeastern highlands and lowlands.